Guys, thanks for spending some time with me today. We've really valued the partnership and all the projects that we've done together. I think to start, can you guys just share with us a little bit? Tell us about Bodyworx, kind of the vision behind it, and how you guys have grown your business.
Felicia, you started everything, so lay it on us.
So I started Bodyworx in 2013. I'm a physical therapist, and so I worked for another company, and we just I got to a point where I felt like I was just hurting people in because we had to see lots of people to make ends meet, and so I felt like our quality of care was just kind of going down a little bit, and so it's very hard to say. One day I just woke up one morning and was like, I do not want to go to work. I hate my job. I love being a physical therapist, but I just hated the situation. And so I just started praying at that moment. And it was 10 years after that moment that I decided to step out and open my own clinic. But it was just, the reason was to have quality care, caring individuals that were passionate about what we wanted to do and help patients, and just really be all about the healthcare and really be in a facility. I've always wanted to be in a nice facility that just represented who we were. And that was always my vision. This is way before I met you, way before, but it was just like, why can't we just have quality care, quality facility, employees that love their job, patients that love to come see what they're needing to be seen for, and just really be involved in what's going on. So I just kind of had that vision. I wanted to love my job. I wanted to be around people that love their job, love what we did for people, and so I just opened that took out faith and opened those doors.
So you guys are a family business. So
Yes.
talk to me about that. How did that come about? What does that look like?
Well, she started with the vision, and I think Dad has always had some type of entrepreneurial mindset, legacy, family. And so, with him driving us, hearing our mother, it just really started to ingrain in us to create this family dynamic. And so, 10 years later, this is what it looked like. Siblings and my kids work here, her son and daughter work here, my wife work with us, Dad is Dad, and so it has really come together in an amazing way. And so I think we divide that statement that says family can't work together. It has been by the grace of God that allows us to get to this very point. So
We definitely see that. I mean, I think we've worked together for seems like 3 years, maybe longer than that
Right.
now. We've seen that since the first time we've interacted. So,
absolutely.
So the building that we're sitting in here today is the second building we've done together, and there's a story behind this land that I didn't learn until the groundbreaking. So tell me about that. What's the story behind the land, and why is where we're sitting today important, and what was the vision about this specific land, and when was that?
Well, actually, first of all, the statement that God works in mysterious ways, that has a lot to do with why we're sitting here today. Because I can remember talking to the lady that actually had a house on this property, and we would just sit here and talk. But we still never had envisioned that we would be sitting here. And, throughout our conversation, you're going to hear the term that we're blessed, and God takes care of a lot of things. And that's truly what has happened here, because we had no idea that one day we would be sitting here, especially as a proud father with his daughter, Dr. Hawkins, and Mr. Corey Smith. And we also have another daughter, Selena Smith, that she's a psychiatrist, psychologist. She's going to kill me for that because I never get it right. But, I think it's just God doing what he always does, and us stepping back and allowing him to lead us.
True, Dad. That's the story.
Yes.
But it's a story behind the story.
That story.
That's another one?
It's a story behind the story.
Okay.
And so our parents actually drove I shouldn't say our parents. Dad drove when Mom sat on the passenger side screaming. Drove up on this lot when there was nothing here but trees, sticks, and wood. And not knowing 20 years later that we would actually build on the very lot that him and Mom drove on.
Yes.
And so, and we did not know. God's providential nature just put things together. We was a block away looking at this land. And so the relationship that we formed with you allowed that pathway, that dream to become a reality. And so watching it go up and walking over here with him as this was being done, it had another different pride level to it. It meant something special. And so when we came together and prayed on this very land, when it was nothing but dirt, Denver, that had it created a different legacy at that moment. Even for my sister and I, it meant that we had to be responsible to carry this out because our parents stood here 20 years ago, and now to see what it is, it means a lot, man.
But even with that, Corey, Denver has brought something to us in the aspect of, I don't know if you know that we're under your wings now, but we are. Because even at some of our meetings, if we don't have an answer, we just say, well, Denver can take care of it. I mean, just during the time that we were getting prepared here for this viewing, you mentioned several times on how you pray. And I think things just does not happen before prayer. So I'm not saying that you're an angel by no means, Denver.
Definitely not.
But,
Yeah.
we have to put things in the right perspective, I think, at times.
Absolutely. Okay, so where we're at today is the second location we did with you guys. I want to take you back to the first location we did. What made you want to meet with Ashton Gray? What were the things you were thinking about? You were thinking, we need a new building, we need a new location. What were the things that were running through you guys' minds at that point in time?
As a business, we were starting to experience some growth. We were starting to have some success in what we were doing. And so we thought, hey, it's time to expand out. But we really didn't have the pathway. We didn't have the avenue to get to where we want to be. And I think our first meeting, at that time we were meeting with Darren Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I think he made the introduction.
That's right.
And so when we initially met you, it was just a connection. It was authentic. It was real. And even speaking to Darren, he was saying this guy can make your vision become alive. And sharing the vision and understanding. And when we first met, it was the three of us. We didn't do anything without the three of us making decisions, moving together.
That's right.
That's how we ended up in saying, okay, take us where, lead us in that direction. And I think the big thing was you understood what we wanted. You understood our vision. And it didn't feel like it was about business. There was a business dynamic to it, of course.
Right.
But there was a connection that said, I understand where you guys want to go. And so I can say from that first building to now, you never treated us like small fish in a big pond. You treated us like, hey, you guys have a vision. I have the pathway. Let's see how it works. And so that's how that first one came about.
That's great.
Even
That's
to
great.
add to that, we had the vision that we wanted like another location, but you brought a dynamic that we never thought about as far as real estate, owning real estate. We're like,
Yes.
what's the purpose? Like, what are we talking about? I just want to have another clinic. And so just being able to have you kind of mentor us and understand the benefits of that was huge for us. And we would come back together and like, okay, so we got to figure this out. Like, what is this? What we need to do? It just made us think on a whole nother level. And so it just brought a whole nother dynamic to it.
So talk to me about, not all of our deals end up this way, but we made a decision to sell that first location that we built, right? So that we got a really good, significant offer on the value of that building. We made that decision to sell that building. Talk me through, what were you guys thinking about that? How did the cash you got out of that benefit the business? Just talk me through that, right? I know, sometimes we have people that are considering doing deals with us and they want to know, what if you decide to sell the building and we don't want to sell, or what if, So you guys have gone through that on a building with me. Talk to me about that experience. What went well? What didn't go well? Maybe what just share with us where your heads were at around that.
The level of transparency, every conversation was authentic. There was not a moment in time where we felt like, man, is he trying to pull the wool over our eyes? It almost felt too good to be true, but because of the level of conversations we had. And I think you can pick up, I think you kind of sense when we didn't know what was going on, you took the time to explain it. This is the opportunity we have. I remember you and I having a conversation. It's like, Corey, this is the best time to do it. We may not get this opportunity again. I'm like, are you sure? Trust me. And so, sure, it was blind faith, but I think the connection to trust, and believe me, and being African Americans and in this business, being a minority, try to do something that hasn't been done in our family, there was a lot of questions, Denver. It really was. But I think, as my dad stated, it was just walking on faith and saying, Denver has been true to what he stated. So when you start saying sale and real estate and property and the things we could do with it, we're getting together saying, do what and how and when.
Where? Is he all right? Is he
Yeah.
all right? Are we, yeah.
And so it was a learning curve, to be honest with you. It was a learning curve. And so, but watching it happen, we learned so much from it. And so when we did that deal and the check actually was there, we was like, wow, this gentleman is talking. Honestly, you had no reason to do it, other than the reason that you wanted to do it, to collaborate with us and give us this great opportunity. It felt like a deal was too good to be true. But you have a heart of being just authentic. And any question we asked, I never felt deceived. You just like, here's the pros and cons. And we want to strike where the iron is hot. And Corey, we have this window. Now, Dad, we got this window. What do we do? Felicia, there's a window here. Doc, what do we do? Like, well, let's call Denver back up. And so I recall having conversations with you late in the evening. And it was still, hey, this is the best business decision, and here's why, and here's what we can do with it. So it was, for me, it was a great learning curve, but it was truly a good experience. It truly was.
That's great. That's great. You guys keep talking about Denver and what I've done, and we have an incredible team. And so the reality is it's actually the team at Ashton Gray that makes all the things that you guys have talked about actually happen. So thinking about construction. So that's tough, right? Building buildings is tough,
Yeah.
Timelines, budgets, contractors. Talk to us about that experience, specifically superintendents, project managers, things that went right, things that didn't go right. Like how was that experience? You've done 2 of them now. Just share with us a little bit about what that's like.
My blood pressure was 600 over 900, man. I didn't know what a change order was, but I learned very quickly. I was under the impression that you can make minute changes that wouldn't impact the big picture, but every change impacts the big picture. Your team was phenomenal, especially for our lack of knowledge, not knowing what we don't know. And so working with them, I must admit, there were some breakdowns in communication. And I think we both shared those breakdowns of understanding. But from my perspective of working through that construction project, it was a huge learning curve that prepared me for this journey that we've had now. I really did not understand the value of reading schematics and knowing everything on there means something. You may see something in the ledger and you not know what it means, but when it get up on that wall, oh, that's what that meant? Okay, we thought that meant something totally different. But I think your team carry your same philosophy as in treating people with value, and that means a lot.
That's even in the design stage. I think Felicia, you talked to them quite a bit on some of the specs, and I'm just sitting back looking. After a while, you guys got it. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, it was overwhelming initially because I didn't know how much I had to decide on. And so it was like, okay, here it is. What do you want to do? I'm like, okay, let's start at step 1. What do we do? And so, but your team they came into our space, looked at our equipment that we had that we were trying to use and make sure we have the right spacing for our rooms, you know, and making sure we're measuring things out. I mean, they were very hands-on
Absolutely.
in helping us in that process. There's no way we could have known how big we need to make this room, how much space I need to walk around this exam table. You know, it was just, they were very hands-on in that process. It was very helpful to have them at that level.
Absolutely.
So talk to me, you mentioned when we first started that you had a vision for Bodyworx before you even, you were still working for another clinic, all that. Were we able to achieve that vision? I mean, is this what you dreamed it would be? Are there things that are different? Like how were you able to take what you kind of had in your mind 10 years before and translate it onto paper and then into actual physical buildings and a business? Talk through that a little bit.
You have blown my vision out the water. Like, it is way beyond where I could even imagine. So you have to understand, like, for an individual that hasn't seen that before, that hasn't experienced that before, our vision is limited because I haven't seen it. I don't know what that looks like. And so that vision is, there's a ceiling there. And so with your team, you're able to just open up so many ideas and so many thoughts that I would never even imagine. And so initially, I never thought like our own building. We were in a suite where we were in a shopping center or whatever. You know, I didn't think about our own building. You know, that's huge. We never even thought about that. And then to be, a brand new building, building from the ground up, I never imagined doing that. I thought, well, if we do a building, it'd be something old we buy, maybe renovate it or something like that. We have to work within what's there. But to be able to have the opportunity to have it exactly how you want it and imagine, I mean, I'm a Pinterest person. I'll go on Pinterest and find pictures. And I'm like, oh, I love that, I love that, I love that. And to actually have the opportunity to say, okay, we can make that happen. That was just, it was unreal. So it was beyond my imagination for sure.
So talk to us about, you've got a new building here, great location, land that your family's dreamed about forever. How is that translated into the financials? What's the revenue and profit, and what does that look like over the last couple of years here? How do you think that the location and all that has impacted the financial performance?
Exceeded it. We've had a lot of people who want to come in and take a tour. I think we've given more tours here than most museums across the United States. But it increased our number and our foot traffic. We have more walk-ins now than we've ever had. And I think that's a direct relationship to the building. And then that intrinsic value of them driving by and say, I watched you build the building. And so they walk in with that conversation. I watched you build it. And then to give a tour of the facility, it has increased foot traffic, that walk-in foot traffic. The referral base has always been there, but that word of mouth about this facility. I was speaking to in a business conversation last week, and I told him to go to the website. And we had these pictures. You guys gifted us these professional pictures when we first moved in. And he's looking at it. He thought it was canned pictures. He said, man, you got some great stock pictures. I'm like, no, sir. You walk into that lobby, that's exactly what you're going to see. And so to be able to make that statement, to be able to give those tours, it has changed. It has increased our income tremendously.
So remind me, how long have you been open right here? How many months? Where are we at?
We opened in August of 21.
August of 21.
August of 21, so almost 3 years now. We're getting close, 2.5 years. So we've been having conversations that you're out of space, right? That we're trying to figure out where we're going to park cars, how we're going to serve more patients. Mm-hmm. Did you expect that?
No.
When we came to this building, we were enlarging our space. Mm-hmm. It's for growth. And so I think we were kind of at that limit within 6 months of being in this building. Yeah, so that was it's a good problem to have, but it's like we just, that's one thing I would going forward is being flexible with the ability to have more growth within the space. And so planning for that, because it will come.
Our team actually have conversation about knocking down walls. Like, we just picked that wall up. That wall is going nowhere. And so with the parking, you know, you stand, you look out and you see the patients waiting for another car to pull out so they can get a parking place. And it's just like, wow, this has really exceeded our expectations. Numbers have doubled. And I think it's a direct contribution to the appearance of this building, the look of the building. And you walk inside, it, in my opinion, it matches her work ethics. It matches her academia. It matches everything she strived for. And you just put it on the walls. And it's like, every time I put in this parking lot, I'm so thankful.
So talk to me about culture. You guys have done an awesome job at building a culture with your team. I think you said earlier you've got 22 team members here. Share with us a little bit about that. How have you done that? What lessons have you learned? What's worked? What hadn't worked? Give us some insight there.
She's walking culture.
Like I said in my starting up, I mean, I wanted to develop a culture that people love to be here. Employees, patients, owners, everything. Just to have a space that you felt cared for, and you weren't just a number. You weren't just a dollar sign that was coming through the door. It was something that we really wanted to help you. And we do that with our patients, but we do that with our employees as well. We always try to have a culture that we give back to them and try to help them in any way that we can, and try to help develop them professionally, personally, whatever is going on. So we develop a culture. Sometimes it bites us in the butt because we can't satisfy everybody's needs and everything that needs to happen, but we try to do what we can. They know our culture, that we do care. We do honestly care. We do everything we can do to help them in any way that we can. So when we benefit, we try to make sure they benefit. When we are stressed out, we try to take a mental health day. We just try to have that family. We're family owned. We try to have that family dynamic in our employees as well. This is our Bodyworx family. I mean, we treat them as if we would our immediate family, and so they feel that. Hopefully, they feel that's genuine, and it just carries over. It's infectious, I think, and so that's all we've always had to have that culture.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, go ahead.
I think the team has taken the culture that you had in mind, and they sing happy birthday to the patients. If someone has a child, we're taking up gifts. If someone loses a family member, we're sending out handwritten cards. And I think the culture that she envisioned is demonstrated in the signs and the behaviors. And
the team did that.
The
team
all
things
did
you're
that.
talking about, that was prompted by the team.
The
That's
team
really
did
cool.
that. We have Dr. Robin Carter. When someone graduated or being discharged, she started singing the graduation song. What was it?
Don't get me singing.
Come on, come on, what's the graduation song?
You would say that the employees are spoiled. That's what you would say.
Somebody from the outside would say that, probably.
Yes, you would never think that they're really doing fantastic work,
Yes.
which they are, because you walk in and they're having a good time. It's just amazing. Absolutely.
So I've got a question for you that doesn't have anything to do with real estate or business or anything.
Oh.
You got a very successful family. You've kept your family together. You got a family that is in business together. What words of advice do you have for fathers around how to raise a family that looks like this? What would you say?
First of all, you got to have your spiritual walk together. You've got to work on it constantly. Bring God into it, and He will take care of everything. You've got to be a good steward. My son uses that term all the time. And not only just, you have to give back. You can't just, that's what you're doing, Denver. That's what you are doing to my family. I am the patriarch.
Absolutely.
And I carry that name with honor. And I think it's a great name to have, to be a patriarch. And I see it. And when you see it, you want to give back. And that's what I tell all young people, that you cannot just be a taker in life. And they'll follow. They'll follow. And Denver, we did not see this. Now, this young lady here has always been kind of geeky. And it's paid off. We're behind her. My son has always been a strong man. And we're just going in as a family and say, hey, we can do this. And you have to understand now, this is our first time around. You know, if you look at our background, we don't have a lot of business background. We have a lot of hard work. So we've taken this to another level, and everybody's just saying, okay, we see it, we're going for it, let's do it. And we pray together.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would add to something that he didn't say then was when we're struggling, because it's not always just good times and fun times, whatever.
That's
but
right.
when we are having those hard times, he's like, it's not for you. It's for your kids and your grandkids. It's the legacy we're leaving behind. It's for the family. It's not, don't just think about what you're dealing with right now. Think bigger. And he's always kind of instilled that in us, to always bring in the family. Remember that is why we're doing this, is to leave something for them as well. And so it's definitely bigger than just us. And so that's why we continue to strive and try to keep going forward, keep it alive. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you mirrored that, Denver, for us. I think my dad was speaking on giving back and not being about us. And I think that's what created the connection, because you didn't make it all about you. You gave back us and gave us an opportunity. And so I think that has blended together this relationship in a strong way.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, at the core of what we're really about, that's our focus. It's so, you see us talk about big all the time, right? Build, invest, and grow. Our people, our partners, right? I mean, that's the focus on what we want to do. And I was talking about it the other day with my wife, and my mom used to drive around and we'd have to listen to these Zig Ziglar tapes. And as a kid, I hated it. But he had a saying that if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want, right? And we were thinking about our business and what we've been blessed to do at Ashton Gray. And that's really what we want to focus
Absolutely.
on. So,
Absolutely. It works.
at our core, we love people that are willing to go out and hang their own shingle, to start their business. I'm passionate about it. Our company's passionate about it. You did that. So share with me, so for another healthcare professional that's working in an environment where they're not providing the care that they know that they want to, right? In their core, they know they could go out and do it better on their own, but they're scared, right? I've got a good paycheck. I don't have any risk, right? But I know I can go out and do something better. What did you learn? What made you be able to do that? What advice would you give somebody that's considering jumping out there and starting their own practice?
Yeah, it is scary. I will admit. I mean, that's not something you just go in, because you can go to a big hospital or be up under somebody else's umbrella. But when we do what we do it because it's what we want to do. It's what we love, what we're passionate about. We're not trying to represent somebody else. And so being able to have that freedom to do that and take that wherever that may go, wherever your vision may go. If you want to help out a community, you can do that. You don't have to I have to get my permission under my board or whatever. That's not in their culture or what they do. Right. You're not restricted to that limitation. But then just being in healthcare, that dynamic is so unique anyway, is because we, as a small business in healthcare, a small healthcare business is different than just a regular small business, because we can't just raise our prices and pay whatever deficit we have, right? We have to rely on reimbursement rates of insurances. And so that is under somebody else's control that we can't really, there's some limits. We can negotiate rates, but there are some limitations there. And so having that limit on a small business, there's only so much we can do. And so being able to have another dynamic of real estate ownership gives you that just another leg, you know what I mean? Just to help you out, to say, hey, I'm doing this, and no matter what's going on, I can still kind of help build wealth and help build a legacy and help build my stake in the community while I'm doing what I'm doing. And if I can do this until I can't walk, but if I get to that point, I still have the ability to to sustain myself and my family and investments and within real estate. And so that was a dynamic that I didn't really understand at one point, but I'm starting to understand. I still don't understand it fully,
Yeah.
but it's a dynamic that I think is very beneficial for us. And so it's being able to have both areas to cover. And I will say, as a clinician, you want to see patients, but don't do it on your own. You need a partner. You need someone to help you do that business side of it, because it is a lot to take on. And so I try to do that initially, and that is, you just get overwhelmed with that. And so as your business grows, you definitely want to have somebody to help you in that process. And so being able to have a partnership, like I have my family, having somebody with you, like mentorship, it just made it less stressful. It was a very, I don't say a no-brainer, but it was definitely like smooth. It was no hiccups, I felt very relaxed with being able to trust you and partnering with you in the decisions you helped us make. And so it makes that process a lot easier to go ahead and step out on that faith and go ahead and say, okay, yes, I can do this. I can make this happen.
That's
It does
awesome.
help.
That's what this country was built on, right? People willing to go out there and
Absolutely.
take a
Yes.
risk.
Absolutely.
So you guys really talk a lot about legacy. We've talked a lot about vision. It's been a part of your family for a long time. What's the future of Bodyworx? What's the vision for Bodyworx over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Well, that's a good question. And I think it probably looked different for each one of us. There's a story that comes to mind when you speak of that legacy. My granddaughter at our elementary school, her teacher hurt her back. And she went to the teacher and said, "You need to come to Bodyworx Physical Therapy." And then she came to me and said, "Papa, I told her to come." So I actually went to that school and met that teacher. And we went to that school and did massage therapy for all of the teachers. So that legacy, to hear my granddaughter tell people at her elementary school, that's what we're trying to build. That's what it is for me, to leave something for the next generation that our parents have passed down to us and made us understand the value of the big picture. And so we're trying to hold together for that generation to see that we left them something that can be of value to them. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that question of us, and I think about the things we've shared, but I also think about our employees have visions of Bodywork. Like, oh, we're going to have a clinic on the south side or north side or whatever. And we're like, well, slow down, hold on. But they are so involved in the process. They just we all just love being here, and so we see the growth and we feel like this is an environment that people should be a part of, and that they want to share that with everybody. And so when they have those visions of, we need to have a Bodyworx over here because these people, they need to be able to experience what we experience. They will love sharing, what we have here. And so that's huge for me. It warms my heart to know that we created something that employees love to even just talk
speak
about.
yes.
And so it's just, it's not just about us, it's them. I mean, I don't know what the future looks like for us, but I know I want to have an impact for me as a clinician to have a vision of what a PT clinic looks like and what a PT clinic should be representing in our community.
And I think I'm just going to roll with the punches on this. Roll on with them.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening
Absolutely.
to spend some time with me and talk about our experiences. And again, I'm just so thankful for each one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
We're very
appreciate
grateful.
you, Denver. We really do. We thank you for this opportunity that you extended to our family. And so we're grateful.